Morning, Erin.
Good morning, Mark.
Thanks for showing up.
My pleasure.
I was going to say welcome to PSU, but this is your home.
This is my home, and
So-
it's exciting to be in this new building.
We're here to talk this morning about IQ, the Innovation Quadrant. What the hell is it?
What the hell is it? Well, I'm really excited to be here this morning. Thank you, everybody, for showing up for this early morning event. This is actually the debut of the Portland Innovation Quadrant. This is our official launch here this morning. And the Portland IQ is a public-private partnership that includes corporations, business incubators, institutions of higher education, and industry associations who are all committed to growing, building, accelerating, and amplifying Portland's innovation economy. And we particularly believe that there is opportunity at the intersection of health, life sciences, science, technology, and product design, areas where Portland has unique assets, but where we can bring more intention and strategy to our collective efforts.
So, practically speaking, is this a piece of real estate that you've identified that you're going to try to create an ecosystem around?
I would describe the Portland Innovation Quadrant simultaneously as a geography, and I'll show you that geography in a moment, as a platform for coordination and programming, as well as a brand. And actually, what I want to do right now is share our new logo.
Oh.
You're all the first to see the logo. We're also launching our website today, portlandiq.com, no, .org, excuse me, portlandiq.org, so you can check it out.
Ooh.
Ooh, nice, huh?
That is nice.
A group of us have been working on this for some time, and I'll talk a little bit about how the Portland IQ came about.
Please.
And then we'll look at the geography of the IQ. So the IQ actually, this notion of an innovation quadrant in Portland, or a science and technology corridor, or an innovation corridor, whatever words you want to use, the current parlance is innovation district. Those are sort of taking root all over the country and the globe. This has been a vision and a dream for Portland for many years, but it's really only been in the last couple of years, I think, that the preconditions for success have been put in place. So I've been in Portland about 11 years, and I've seen some really dramatic changes in that time. And there are a few that I think are really critical to acknowledge, and many of us are aware of these changes, but when you think of them cumulatively, it really changes the landscape and creates the opportunity for the IQ that we now want to realize. So the first is the changing geography of innovation in our region. Historically, we've been a hardware economy, and that hardware economy has been anchored in the western suburbs by Intel. It's primarily been a semiconductor economy. Over the last 10 years, we've seen the growth of software, and the software economy in Oregon has given rise to a robust and dynamic entrepreneurial community that's really oriented around software, apps, and B2B software solutions. So that's actually really created a very important shift.
Right.
Okay. Is this not working? Is this working? Much better. Okay. So number one, we've seen a shift in the geography of innovation, and accompanying that shift are strong preferences by millennials for urban core living. So those two things have really sort of created a dynamism in our central city, both in terms of talent and in terms of technology. The second big factor, I think, has given rise to the opportunity of the Innovation Quadrant is that our institutions of higher education have really become much more sophisticated in the area of technology transfer over the past decade. So even 10 years ago, Not all of our major research universities had technology transfer offices. It wasn't a high priority. We didn't have business accelerators that accompanied all of our institutions of higher ed. And today that's completely changed. We have accelerators working with every one of our research universities. We have seen a proliferation of incubators and business accelerators in Portland and beyond. And of course, we've seen these incredible gifts of philanthropy from Phil Knight to both OHSU and U of O for basic research in cancer prevention as well as scientific acceleration. So those are game changers for our community, for our state, and Portland needs to be ready to anticipate really what that's going to mean for our economy and be prepared to sort of, create the infrastructure that's going to be able to take advantage of what's coming out of those universities. So changing geography of innovation, growth and development in our higher ed ecosystem. And then finally, I think we have to give some credit to our city and local government agencies who have continued to invest in transit infrastructure and really connect these assets in the central city. So, for example, PSU and OHSU now are totally connected by light rail, streetcar, bike, and pedestrian infrastructure, which is really enabling greater connectivity. And I want to, in terms of origins, just really recognize the sort of symbolic significance of the Tillicum Crossing. So this is an iconic piece of infrastructure in our region. It's the largest pedestrian and transit-only bridge in the country, and symbolically it connects the east and the west sides of the river. So it literally connects PSU, OHSU, and the central east side. And this vision of an innovation corridor or an innovation quadrant has for many years been the idea that the central east side of Portland, which is our designated industrial district, would serve as the incubator for our city. So the connectivity, the rise of the central east side, the shift in the geography of innovation, all of these, I think, are the factors that are giving rise to the Portland Innovation Quadrant today.
So I want to ask you a little bit on what this is going to look like, but who are your partners? You mentioned the city, PSU, OHSU. Who else is involved?
Yeah, so the Innovation Quadrant conversations actually began among the 4 presidents of OHSU, PSU, PCC, and OMSI. Again, in response to the completion of the Tillicum Crossing, it was sort of a catalytic moment for them to say, how do we take advantage of this incredible proximity that we now have? How do we leverage the partnerships and the relationships with industry, with each other? And so we I sort of was tapped to work on this. My day job is Associate Vice President for Strategic Partnerships at Portland State University. We did focus groups, we did a lot of outreach to really see, was there an appetite in the community to create an intentional innovation quadrant? And the answer was a resounding yes. And today we've gone from 4 institutions, the 4 anchor institutions, to this is not the right slide, but that's okay. This is the map. This is the geography of the innovation quadrant. I don't know how well you can see, but you can see how the 4 anchor institutions are connected via transit, and then the central east side already has, close to a dozen incubators or accelerators already in residence. The other thing that's really important to recognize here is that within the innovation quadrant, there are major tracts of land that are ripe for development. And so real estate developers are key to the development of the IQ. We have the Zidell property on the South Waterfront, which is 30 acres, prime for development. OMSI, which is in master planning, 11 acres in development. The ODOT blocks, 2 acres in development. And so this notion of bringing intentionality and strategy to how these parcels develop is really key. So now I'm going to bring up a slide that shows who our partners are. So we've expanded from 4 anchor educational institutions to having a number of major corporations, including Autodesk, Cambia, and a number of key industry associations, pharma, Oregon Bioscience Association and Technology Association of Oregon, as well as Zidell and Beam Development and a number of the key real estate players in this geography. So we've established a board, and we are working with great intention to create physical proximity between large companies, small companies, entrepreneurs, incubators, researchers, and students. And the underlying sort of assumption here is that today, with the blurring of industry boundaries, with digital technology transforming every industry, that proximity really matters. So go ahead.
Let's sort of, on a very practical matter, let's say I'm a biosciences company in Salt Lake City, and I'm considering moving my headquarters. And so I call you up, and I say, I've heard about this thing called the IQ. Erin, what can you do for me?
Okay, that's a great question, because we have to figure that out. So the IQ, what I believe it will do is serve as a portal into what is a very distributed ecosystem here in Portland. We have lots of small things going on, we're very anecdotal, and we're pretty siloed in terms of our industries as well as our institutions of higher ed. So the goal is that the innovation quadrant and that phone call will gain that individual access to the entire ecosystem in a highly efficient way so that he or she can assess the environment here in Portland quickly, that there's transparency in terms of what's happening here and how you get things done, and we make introductions to the appropriate people, ranging from researchers at OHSU to Greater Portland Inc., who can help them with business recruitment and site selection.
So the idea is to sort of create an ecosystem where a biosciences company would not necessarily get a check, not basically told we're going to,
No subsidies.
No subsidies, but what we're offering you is an ecosystem where there are going to be other companies like yours, there are going to be large companies, maybe there will be potential acquirers who are helping promote this. You'll be downtown, you'll have access to all these wonderful universities and a great transit system.
Access to all of that and more, access to space that makes sense for your company, and probably one of the most important aspects, access to talent. So one of the key values of the innovation quadrant, we know, all of us in tech, that we're importing a lot of our talent in this region from the Bay Area, from the East Coast, and we're not doing a very good job of moving our own students through the system to graduation into STEM fields. And so this idea of creating transparent career pathways for our own young people is a key priority. And the idea of having a sort of navigable pathway of job shadowing, internships, co-ops, job placement for graduates of our high schools, of Portland Community College and PSU is a real driver of the IQ.
If you had to predict what will be the first tangible accomplishment that we'll be able to see or feel or touch of the IQ, what will it be?
Well, it's already happened.
It's already happened.
We have a number of really key projects underway. Many of you may know that Autodesk, which has been located in Lake Oswego for 20 years, has just leased the entire town storage building at the Burnside Bridgehead. They're bringing 200 software jobs to the innovation quadrant for all the reasons I've described. They want to be close to talent. They want proximity to innovators and incubators and creators. They're moving in next week to the town storage building, and they're actually going to house the IQ. So Autodesk will be the IQ HQ, and we're really excited about that. They're partnering with the Portland Incubator Experiment, creating something called Pie Shop, which is a manufacturing prototype incubator, so that's already in the works. Another project I'd like to call out is the East Side, I think it's called 808 Alder, and this is a bioscience building, a $12 million investment in the Central East Side by Summit Development, in recognition of the fact that there are many now digital health and life sciences companies that are growing out of the Oregon Business Incubator and need a place to go. So those are 3 examples of what's happening, and that's just the beginning.
Wonderful. So in a year, will you come back and tell us about all your progress?
Absolutely. I think we'll have lots more to report. This is just the very beginning. We're really excited about this. Please go to our website. You can find out more. It's an early stage website, but it'll give you an indication of where we're going, how the IQ is going to unfold. You can get involved. You can email. If you have expertise and interest, we have working groups that will be delivering really the bulk of the kind of strategy and deliverables of the IQ. Those work groups are entrepreneurial programming and startup resources, access and career pathways, and business and real estate development. So we welcome your participation. This is an inclusive, not an exclusive effort. One final point I'd like to make on geography. Really the goal, I would say one of the central primary goals of the IQ is to create a physical center of gravity for Portland and Oregon's innovation ecosystem, a place where you can really see, touch, and feel all of the incredible work that's going on here. But we recognize that innovation is taking place across the region and across the state. So it's a touch point, a hub and a center of gravity rather than an exclusive geography. So I just want to make that point.
All righty, so www.portlandiq.org. Everybody, let's give it up for Erin Flynn. Thank you.